flower. Did you guys hear the sirens? Did you guys get to see the sirens? I looked up at the screen and son of a bitch. I think that even over here on Twitch, I thought this shit was gonna be over. So we're talking about cool season, warm season growth. Well, a steel bee, like these ones, can grow in Tennessee. These get a lot of sun, and they look great pretty much all year. There's a couple of years here or there where a leaf or two might look yellowed, but whatevs. So that's one of the keys. You can grow a lot of these type plants like a steel bee, grasses like Deschampsia in these warm areas if your soil can support their moisture needs. Can you support their needs? Are you supporting your plant's needs? It's probably a good way to look at life and also gardening. Are you supporting the plant and what it wants? Because this plant, that's all it needs. It can do sun, sure, if you give it ample moisture and decent soil. If you don't, it will not like that much sun. And then the problem is with things like a steel bee. Little bit true, Deschampsia has a different problem. If you put them in shade and there's too much shade, well then you don't get flowers. And on a steel bee, that's a big thing because it's mostly why people grow a steel bee. The foliage is cute though. I got my hands all in it right now, so I know it to be so. But I do think it's important to remember that combination. At some point, if we ever get real crafty and we need somebody who's like real organized, who's good at making like flow charts and stuff, there is some kind of relation between soil quality, soil moisture, and temperature and sun, and some kind of line that I'm sure we could do 4 billion experiments with and figure out. But all you need to know is you need damn good soil, okay? Just get good soil. Again, same thing with the peonias. Just focus on your soil and everything else works out. If you focus on the plants, it's probably not gonna work out as much as if you focus on soil. I was so excited the first day I got like onto the soil train. I remember I wanted to be like, I would have been on Instagram for like 18 hours consecutive. If Instagram would have been around in 2006, I would have been like, did you all see about this soil? Holy moly, this soil, you know how you make it? You just gotta get free shit. This is crazy. The Origeron, it's moving a little, but not like people said. I expect when people say aggressive, I see a lot of aggressive plants here in Tennessee, so I know it when I see it. It's like that quote about pornography. You know it when you see it? Same thing with aggressive weeds. I know it when I see it. Little cut back here, just missing some of the astilbe stems that are laying on the ground. The astilbe stems, some come off, some don't. It's very cultivar to cultivar. I have a couple of them like purple candles. They break away and they're gorgeous. There's others, they're like, I'm not letting go of this old stem. I don't care that it's not doing anything. They're very, they're just hanging on to the past a little. The euchra have all grown through their last year's foliage and look brilliant, which is great. And also one of the positive traits of the euchras that are out on the market that are good, like the euchra caramel, autumn bride, they're all so aggressive with their new growth that they just grow through anything that looks bad. So pruning them becomes like not much of a job. You just sort of occasionally may need to clean around the base of them. That's about it. We could do that even over here together. It's just not that hard, especially if we grab the shears. Makes it real easy. This job is almost a shear job too. But some of these are popping off by hand, which is great. Come on. Anybody want to buy any Norway maples? Norway maples for sale by the billions. Before I mow that field of them down with those roses, somebody speak up. If you guys want to have a really aggressive, invasive tree, but you don't want to see your neighbors and you hate them and you hate ecology and you hate the universe and you're just really upset about a lot of things, you should buy one of those. I'll sell it to you. Okay, I will be a part of that. I will enable and profiteer off of your hate in your soul. just gonna say it. If you want to plant Acer pseudoplantis, I'm really thinking that is somebody who's evil. Like if you plant Acer pseudoplantis, especially now. In the past it was fine, but now, I mean, we know enough, right? Ignorance isn't the excuse that it once was. People used ignorance as a shield for a long time. I think we can all admit that. And it's fine. We can have moments, but we need to walk softly if we're ignorant. There's some quotes about it and things. I'll let you guys Google them. Look at all this stuff. We're just pulling things off. Our poor Abies lasiocarpa, Martha's Vineyard, is dying, by the way. I know. Martha's Vineyard, been with us many, many years. How long we had it? 2010, I think. So, you know, we're heading into the 12-year mark, but I think it was having a lot of issues. It needed to go anyways. It's not even a sad thing. We needed to open up space next to our Silver Lock right here that I'm by. So it was gonna happen in the future, and this is just expediting the decision making. It's making the decision for me, so I don't have to. When do I want to take it? I'm not sure, but I will eventually. All the Astilbe stems. So this is all just material that I mow over. We're by this Hydrangea quercifolia. You need anything? Yeah, you do. Right there. Just gonna take that whole stem back. This stem is just dying back too much for me, so I'm just gonna take it off. And there's one little panicle that I see on the middle here. We'll take that too. There's some anemones that we can cut back real quick. So the easiest way to do this with anemones is you do that bunch method, right? We just grab them all real low and cut. Cut, 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 cut. Done. And then same thing with this group. These are coming back really nicely. This is from that curtain call series. Looks real good. This is a little bit of Hemerocallis debris. Let's grab this out. And then same thing, this Hydrangea quercifolia has got one rando stem too that's not doing well. 98% doing well, 2% not. That one stem, it's got to keep you from your perfect record, you know? It's like, damn, I was doing so good. One more Astilbe or 3 over here just to prune out while not stepping on plants, which is definitely the name of the show at this point. What is this? Little Autumn Bride? Yeah. One Autumn Bride over here too. That's such a good heuchera. We should put a few of that Royal Red in this bed. Maybe today we could do that. That would be a fun addition in here. Abby, who's followed me on Instagram for so long and always been so kind, she made a comment about how it's been so hard to find good euchras, and then I showed off Royal Red, which was a variety I just randomly found through research, and it's done very well in a plug tray, so I'm eager to actually get it into the gardens and see it do things in the real. So we probably should put some of those over here too. That would actually be pretty nice. I will find a spot, or we'll make one for sure. And that's the thing too. It's like, for me, I get to do this with plants where we can experiment, have the space to do it, really just explore a thought like that. Like, hey, is this a thing? Is this a plant that's good? Is it a plant that should be in people's gardens? Let's see. And that heuchera issue has been a ongoing problem, I know, for so many people trying to get heucheras to grow. And it's been great because people like the way they look. So I understand the desire to do it. And then when people try and they fail with it, they're like, son of a bitch. So we should definitely always keep that out there. And I really do. I really have tried to grow things over the year to help knowledge gaining, really. Because if I can see things here and I can share that with y'all, it does improve the overall database of plant knowledge in the universe. And I know that shit has helped me over the years, so I'm just returning the favor. Don't step on plants? Oh, geez. I think I may have stepped on a plant or 7. That was a tough zone over there. get into the bed just a little, see if there's any other thing to clean up over in this area. See, this would be an interesting area for the Deschampsia. It's very lightly shaded here now because of the maple. I'm trying to think if there's anything over here. The other option for here might be the Ethereum Fern Godzilla. That could be fun. That dark black metallic foliage contrasting over here with the Heuchera Caramel that's done so well. That could be a good choice. There is a Dryopteris tokiensis over here. I can admit with that plant, it's just been really slow to come out of the ground. I've actually been shocked at how slow the Dryopteris are. I was not prepared for how slow they have been. I anticipated them to be early spring foliage, and instead they've been like, I guess we're waiting for spring as opposed to whatever this period of the year is. But they are starting to get going now. So my hope is that means, hey, they'll look great later into the year. They haven't put out a lot of energy yet. They're fresh. They're fresh for the second half of the season. So we could do that, and we've also got some Carex over here, Carex uscamensis or uscagensis, always forget. So we could do those as well, and maybe dot that through this area that I'm currently in. And then we can put the Deschampsia in here too. Add some volume closer to where you're at and maybe drift it through. There's a lot of Heuchera over there. There's a variety that did not do very well through the winter. I do see it emerging now, so we're gonna be fair and give the plant a chance. Throwing some Deschampsias near it would probably be helping them, giving them a little shade, because they do look like they're more in the Heuchera family of, we don't like the heat and humidity, so maybe giving us an hour or two off with a Deschampsia planted near us as a sunshade probably would be helpful. So we could do that as well, and we'll get started with that here in a second. A little last minute weeding as I just finished that thought. That's really how I work. I like to just think through the process, look at what I'm staring back at, put it through a bit of like a creative lens, then put it through a practical lens, and then a plant knowledge lens ultimately, and landing on the varieties that I know do well under those type settings. Weeds are not awful over here. I was expecting them to be a little worse. So that's a good thing. Every place we don't see weeds means we're doing better and better in the gardens. It's actually a way to, I do think, evaluate the idea. The big long border garden is doing so well because I also think there's not competition. The plants themselves pop up. They're not having to worry about nutrient availability. If there is root zone competition, which there is, but it's all from plants that we love. It's our plants competing, which is sort of the game we're trying to create as opposed to something else. And as I'm dreaming about the future here, those are the thoughts I'm having. You know, what are the combinations of plants I can put in here that really will do well in all those ways? And it excites me just as much to think about the origin story of the plants and the gardens and where they're from in the world as much as anything. So I like dreaming and imagining and wondering about all of those elements. I don't particularly like zoning in on any one thing about a plant. Flowers are great, but one of the conversations I was having with myself, inside voice as opposed to outside voice, was how much light do daffodils really need before they're cut back? Many of the early daffodils here in Tennessee at Natchez Glen, they've been blooming for weeks. Their foliage has been out of the ground for over a month. So, you know, we're at that 40 days, 45 days of foliage and energy absorption. So how much more do they need? And that's something that we don't really know objectively. We only have people's ideas anecdotally. And I think it's probably leaned that they need more than we think. The strategy with daffodil has always been you allow the foliage to start yellowing, and yellowing is when you could cut back, or even better, don't cut back and just let them yellow and brown back on their own. Well, I mean, that's true in a naturalized setting, not called a garden. That might be true in a farm application of daffodils trying to be grown for farm bulb production. But is it true for you and your garden? I don't believe so. I think we could probably cut daffodils back much, much earlier in the year and have it work beautifully. So that's what we're going to do this year. Last year I did it some, and it worked beautifully. We did cut them back. This year we'll cut them back probably even more aggressively. There's a block of them I'm thinking about doing just in the next probably week, and just clean that out and get that foliage out of the way so the understory plants that are there now become the overstory plants of the future. Just cleaning up the heuchera. So all I'm doing is just running my hand through the foliage of the heuchera and just getting the loose leaves off. And then we can come through next and just use the shears and just cut all the remaining off. And I don't think also this is something to obsess about. The other problem with heuchera, just as I'm doing it, I'm making this observation, and it just makes perfect sense. And I could see maybe over the years where people threw themselves with this. Heuchera are very shallow rooted, almost rhizome plants. They have a rosette, and then the rosette produces the new growth, but it rides very high and shallow sometimes. And even disturbing them a little bit, if they're not well rooted, could just freak them out enough. And then you sort of do all the other kill them with kindness things. You start watering too much in the summer. The plant doesn't like heavy, wet soil, and it just starts to erode because of that, rots away actually. A lot of the issues people think are them underwatering or water related are typically the opposite. Most of the plant deaths I've seen in home gardens over the last 15, 16 years has been people overwatering. It's been pretty rare that I've actually found someone who's gardening in any kind of way where they're under watering. It's usually the opposite. And it's just to kill them with kindness. People are just trying hard to keep their plants happy and healthy, and in the process doing too much. And that becomes a problem. So even a garden like this, when will I water it? Well, I probably won't. Last year, I don't believe I watered this at all. Now, we've had really ample water years, these last two. If I didn't have it, I think I'd look at maybe like a once a month get out here, outside of just radical conditions, right? 2019, we had 95 days above 90. That would be a year. Maybe I would think about it if we get into a stretch like that. But, knock on wood, knock on your head. God bless, God forbid, God, a lot of things. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. But even if it did, I would still lean conservative with water, not aggressive with water, for the same reasons. There's a lot of plants that are just very sensitive. They've evolved to know that summer is hot and dry. And now suddenly you're making summer not hot and dry. You're making summer sort of weirdly wet and still hot, but not like wet where there is also a relationship. I could go very deep on this subject, and I will namaste not to. There is a relationship between sun activity and plant use of nutrient, water, all those things. So when the sun is out, plants are doing different processes. When it is cloudy, plants are doing different processes sometimes, very genus to genus kind of talk. But when you're watering and it's really bright outside, the plant is slightly mixed messaged. Now we can overcome that because we just say, hey plant, here's fucking water, stop worrying. And they will, they don't think of it that way, but you do give some plants problems with that. Annual plants, squash, tomatoes, vegetables. A lot of these things that people are doing for these type plants are the things they do for those plants. And this ain't the same. Unless we were growing annual plants. There's that. Step in here a little bit. Haven't looked at the chat comments in a hot minute there. Awesome, that is so cool. Umpy? Hold on, Umpy. Let me see. I gotta get this. I can barely see the screen. Umpy to Yo-Yo. I'm gonna go Yo-Yo or Jojo at the end there. Either way. Jojo, Yo-Yo. You tell me. Thank you. I think it's really just one of these things. When you garden, it is specific. It's specific to you. It's specific to your garden. It's specific to the plants. It's a whole vibe that you have to encounter. It is why I truly believe, Umpit, up, Jojo Joel. Oh, Jojo, not the lull at the end. See, I can't even see it. Can't see out of this eye, probably. I'm gonna go ump. So really keep that in your thoughts whenever you're gardening, whatever your size garden is. If you're gardening, in a home sense, or you're like me in your Natchez Glenning situation, you should really be thinking about it in that localized kind of way. All right, so let's talk about planting here. We're gonna plant these Deschampsia. We're also gonna plant those Ethereum Godzillas over there. I'm gonna flip our view here for a second so we can see the area that we're gonna work those ferns in with. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. It is so nice out though. I really cannot complain. But look at the long border. Oh, the long borders. Oh, the long border. What's up, long border? How are you? Oh, look at, the beauty that is Boss Coop Glory. Boss Coop, what's up? So here we are, over in this corner that once housed Acer palmatum, corallinum. R.I.P. corallinum, R.I.P. We knew thee so little, actually. No, we did. We knew corallinum for all that time. It just was not a plant that did well. It was one of those, there are a decent amount of Acer palmatum Japanese maples that are not the healthiest campers in the club. So when we run across ones like that, I always try to let everybody know corallinum was definitely in that world. On the West Coast, like out in Oregon at the nursery, I knew several people who grew corallinum at a nursery setting, and it did fine for them. And I had seen dozens and dozens of corallinums in gardens in the Pacific Northwest, and it did great for them. Well, welcome to an area of the world where humidity is constant and omnipresent in Tennessee, but also welcome to a part of the world where soil is completely different. And the amount of fungal activity